welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast, bringing you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. I'm Ben, and as always, I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor. Before we begin, you can jump around the podcast by using the timestamps in the description below. Conor, how are we doing?
I'm exhausted, mate, if I'm being honest with you. But that's just because I finally got back into writing theories again and was up all night doing that.
Oh, okay, so it'll be worth it?
Fingers crossed.
Oh,
Fingers crossed.
Okay, what can you like lay down some groundwork on what the theory's about? Can you like hint?
So the most recent one isn't necessarily a theory. It's more of just like, hey, here's all the connections to Gen 8 that we found in Scarlet and Violet. There are a bunch of theories coming down the line. I just had to make sure like they were actually good and reputable, and I wanted to make them as good as possible. So we've held off on it for a little while.
Okay.
I think we're good to go.
Okay, right. I'm looking forward to that because I have noticed there are a couple of references to Galar playing the game. So full, like, telling everyone where I am. I'm nearly at the end of the game. I have one gym leader and one of the Team Star bases to conquer. And so I already have noticed a few Galar references. So it'll be good to watch that video. I'm looking forward to seeing if there are major links between the two. Hopefully.
Major. There's definitely some.
Okay. Is it more Easter eggs than tied into the actual game?
Ish. There's one big one. There's one big, huge reference that's at the very, very start and technically follows you all the way through the game.
Wait, what? Is it the Rotom phone? It's something to do with Rotom?
No, I didn't even think about the Rotom phone. The Rotom phone, technically, yes. But no, you're from Galar.
Oh, are we? Wait, is that mentioned at the start? Have I missed that?
Nope. It's never mentioned, but there are
hints
clues. Are there.
There are clues. Right. Okay. Right. So someone's decided to move from Galar to Spain, which some people, my uncles have done exactly the same thing. Move from.
Of course, it used to be easier back in the day, but this is not that kind of podcast.
Let's not go down that route. Jeez. Right. Okay. Let's jump into the main content this week, starting with the latest news about the Charizard raid.
The Charizard raid. The 7-star Charizard raids are coming today as of day of recording, yesterday as of day of release, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 15th of December, on the 1st of December, running all the way through to the Sunday, which is the 4th.
Oh, it's not on for long then?
No. This weekend only.
Oh, okay, right. Got to do it.
So
wow.
Last week we had our first event, which was the Eevee raids, where you could get a bunch of different Eevees. Eevees were showing up more frequently, but this is our first 7-star raid. It's going to be the hardest challenge we have had to date in Scarlet and Violet, and I'm pretty sure they've advertised it mostly as being Dragon-type Charizards. Yes. I'm not sure if they're all going to be Dragon types. That's to be seen.
So Charizard is finally, I'll say finally, it was a Mega for one point where it was a Dragon type, but obviously Megas don't exist anymore, so we're finally going to be able to get a Dragon type Charizard. Are you going to get it?
I don't have a Pokemon probably strong enough to take this on at the moment, because I think 7-star raids, they're level 100.
Oh wow. Okay. That's going to be...
And, it all depends on whether they fixed a lot of the raid bugs that were happening.
Yes.
Which may be the case, because, of course, we have had a brand new patch today. Again, as of day of recording, yesterday, as far as you are listening.
We'll jump into... Should we jump into that after the comments from subscribers? Because one of them nicely leads into that, yeah?
We can do. So why are we doing comments from subscribers? We never do comments. We do questions at the end, Ben. What's going on?
We do. So, obviously with the 2.5-hour mega review that we did last week, there was a few people that decided they wanted to make their voices known, either correcting us on things or just giving their thoughts a lot about the bugs and raids. So I thought it'd be quite nice to do this section here, which will then lead us on to the update that you've just hinted at. Sound good?
Yes. I will say, anecdotally, I've had people come to me over the week and be like, you were really negative about that game. Like, I had to stop listening because it was just clear that you hated the game. I was like, you stopped listening!
Yes.
You can't say I hated you literally stopped listening before I told you I loved the game.
Yes.
Despite all of its flaws.
Exactly. I think we were both exactly on the same wavelength last week, where we were very honest. And sometimes that means you need to be brutal about the things that you don't enjoy about a game. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you don't enjoy parts of a game, or there are things that impact on your enjoyment of a game. But like, we both, at the end of that review, we were both like, yeah, there's a lot of issues, but we still like the game. Which
all the way through, I made it very. In fact, I said it from the start. Like, look, I've had so much fun with this game. I've enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
I still recommend it to people.
Yeah.
I just want people to know what they're getting in for, and what they're getting in for is a flawed experience.
Yes, and like for me, like I said last week, it is a good game, but it could have and should have been great, unfortunately. But yeah, so one of the things that I mentioned last week and we had a discussion about was that the Pokemon in the wild don't really seem to
interact with one another,
or they don't really feel alive. Like, my experience from that, having played an extra week, is it's pretty much still the same. Other than those two Donphan rolling down a hill, there's not really been anything where I've gone, wow, they look like they are real Pokemon in a real life experience. They just look like digital assets. However, Ultra Ball has written that apparently Zangoose and Seviper do fight each other in the wild. You just have to get them to both spawn near each other, and they're the only ones to fight each other, which actually opens up an extra can of worms for me there, because there's a lot of Pokemon that are predator and prey, so surely we should be seeing that. You know, like a Persian chasing down, I know Rattata isn't in a game, but something similar, like chasing it down in order to, you know, try and catch it as part of, well, it's a real life food chain that is going on in the wild, and we don't get that.
No, and I think the only place I can think where they both spawn together is South Area, Province 1. And like I've seen both of those Pokemon there.
Yeah. Just
not at the same time of day. So interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to see if we can replicate that. And Marissa Kaladi has commented, with the Pokemon interacting with each other, something I saw a lot in the Varoom outbreak is that they will often race each other, which is neat, but yeah, not as much interaction as I'd like. So I haven't seen that. So maybe it is more, if you go to the raids, maybe the outbreaks, maybe there is more interaction, but they're all the same Pokemon type, right?
See, it's interesting, because every time I saw a Varoom, it just sped its way towards me.
Yes. Yeah.
They're very aggressive Pokemon.
They are.
So, is it there? Maybe. And it's always a difficult one, especially with stuff like that. I thought this when you brought up the Donphan rolling down the hill. It's like, oh, they're racing each other. I'm like, how much of that is you putting that in there? Because that's just how they move.
Yes, true. Like, thinking about it, like, was I just in the right place at the right time where two Donphan were just naturally rolling around an area and just happened to go down a hill, which made me think, oh, wow, they're rolling down a hill rather than walking around. You get what I mean? I'm just, maybe I saw something that was really exciting when actually it's a bug and not a
But the point
feature.
still stands. It's not necessarily a bug. It's just like, a coincidence, as it were.
Yes.
But realistically, that's how little there needed to be for us to create our own experience, for us to have our own insight and be like, oh, wow, I'm seeing them interact in this way. That's how little needed to be there. And unfortunately, for a lot of the time, it was they just appeared and they stood around each other.
Yeah, pretty much. It's almost like you've got the one big Pokemon in the middle surrounded by 5 or 6 of the previous evolutions. Other comments, so one that's coming from Ember. Thank God you guys talked about the raids. I thought I was going insane because of how broken they are. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the timer literally stall out and then insta-fail the entire thing, or the fact that it pauses for half the raid, wasting your time. And I've experienced this next part a lot over the last 2 days, not to mention how it times out when attempting to connect to a raid. Then it doesn't let you search for new raids until it decides that you can. I've experienced that. It's the only feature of the game that gives you Herb and Mystica. Shiny Hunters are going to hate this game. It's either spam picnics with the Herb and Mystica or not. And then another comment around the raids. The Tera Raids get bothersome with the shield gimmick, but besides that and the home economic side quest, I've loved this game. And that's from Tony. So last week, I hadn't got to the part with the shields, whereas this week I have. So for those of you who don't know, the more difficult raids, when they reach a certain point, they will put up a shield. You can only take down that shield with terrestrialized attacks. And unfortunately, you need to attack 3 times in order to charge your Tera Orb. What I've discovered over the last 3 days is that moves like Protect and Substitute do not charge that Tera Orb. So it is...
Nope.
So if you get into a raid where somebody hits them really powerful with a single attack and it brings them down to that section, you've then got to spend 3 turns doing no damage with attacks to then charge your orb. It like last week when you explained, I was like, okay, right, that does sound bad. I can now confirm, yeah, it probably needs that. The raids need tightening up a little bit in terms of the gimmick of terrestrialization.
Yeah, and again, my hope is in this most recent patch, they will fix that before this 7-star raid comes out.
He is hoping.
Because again, for me, it really was that wasting time in the middle that just made me really, really sad. I thought that was unacceptable.
Yeah, I agreed. And we've got one final comment from Chaos Dragon. It says bugs and it's not remotely perfect, but I can't put it down to save my life. Every game has patches, and I'm hoping this can be optimized with them as well. GG, fellas. That basically sums up how I'm feeling. It has bugs. It has issues. It's not perfect, unfortunately, but I am still really enjoying this game.
Yes. Now, again, not everything we brought up was a bug issue.
Yes.
I agree the bugs are an issue, but there were flaws and things that were less than perfect within the game and game design that we brought up. And I think writing it all off as bugs is maybe giving too much credit to what the game could be.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
They're not going to be able to fix all of this with a patch.
No.
Now, weirdly enough, what I will say, though, as much as they'll fix the bugs with the patch,
yes,
I stand by the point that Sword and Shield is kind of a fine game.
Okay.
Sword and Shield with the DLC is a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how strong the DLC for this game will be and how much further it will push it into being like, no, now it's worth really going out your way to get. Now I can recommend it wholeheartedly.
Yeah. It's strict because I was convinced Sword and Shield were going to see a updated version, which was you buy the game and it's already got the DLC on it, and it was going to be like, Shield and Armor Edition, Sword and Armor, something like that, which would allow you to do that. And they never did that because for whatever reason, a decision was made over at Game Freak that they wouldn't package the game with DLC, which so many other game companies do. They bring out, a year or two down the line, a Game of the Year edition or whatever it might be.
Game of the Year edition, yeah.
Which packages it's all together. Now, I'm almost thinking S&V, Scarlet and Violet, might just do that. They might package it together to maybe kind of persuade people. Okay, you might have heard about all the bugs or issues that were there during live. Well, this is an acknowledgement of, even if we haven't fixed it or we fixed it and you aren't aware of it, you'll look at this game and go, I'm getting more value for my money here because I'm also getting additional DLC with it, and therefore people maybe are more likely to buy it. I think, though, whether or not the DLC is a success for this will be impacted on what they could do over the coming months in terms of the things that they can fix, because like we mentioned, they're taking refunds for this game, so they're aware there is an issue, and there are some issues that are just that's how it is, unfortunately. Like, they have made it like the Let's Go mechanic or Titans Team Star, the gym challenge. Like, they have made creative decisions there that will not be changed. However, there are bugs and minor features that might get updated, which maybe will turn people around on this game and therefore more likely to buy DLC, because I guarantee there will be a subset of people that will go, I'm not buying the DLC until the main game, the features the bugs, the issues that they have are fixed. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do moving forward with this game.
Okay. 2 things on that I will say. You can straight up buy Sword and Shield with the expansion pass.
Okay.
As a bundle collection.
Is it
thing.
Digital only then, I take it?
No.
Oh, really?
I'm looking at cases that have
wow.
There's a Sword and Shield case with the expansion pass.
There's me school.
It's not a bundle price. It is the price of the full game,
of course,
and the price of the expansion pass.
Right, okay.
Because Nintendo.
Yeah.
But you can buy it. The other thing I'll say as well is the DLC boosted the sales of Sword and Shield. There were a lot of people who were like, Sword and Shield's a little bit maybe not my speed.
Mm-hmm.
The DLC came out and the sales did increase from it.
Okay.
So I think you're right. There's no shot that they don't fix all the bugs before then.
Agreed. Yeah, they surely, from a business perspective, it makes sense, and you only have to look at other games in the past. So a good example is No Man's Sky, where that came out and there was a lot of issues in terms of, similar to Game Freak, where they overpromised in their trailers and underdelivered on the final product, and they took their time to fundamentally change that game to improve a lot of the issues. Now, I don't think this game will fundamentally change. I think in 3 years' time, when we're moving on to Gen 10, the core product of this game will remain the same. However, there will be bugs and issues that will get looked at. Frame rates probably being the main one, although there are others that will get addressed. And they have to do that, because I don't think any game company would be brave enough to go, yeah, we understand there are loads of issues, but here's DLC, give us your money. Like, it just seems like a terrible business decision to make, because there'll be a core group of people that, on principle, will just go, no. Like, I paid full price for this game, which, in my opinion, should not be full priced because of the bugs and issues.
I mean, I agree. I absolutely agree with those people as well. Like, realistically, it's such a hard one when it comes to this game, because I'm a fan of it.
Yes,
because
same.
I'm a fan, so I want to be like, no, it's good, really, but it's without bringing light to a really hard subject. I'm in an abusive relationship with Pokemon, is what it feels like.
Right, yeah.
Is the fact that it keeps disappointing me and doing the same thing over and over and over again, and I'm sat here going, no, but it's fine, really. It's not all the time. Like, we do have fun together.
Like,
they can get better.
They can change.
I can fix them.
So it's funny you mention, actually, because like, it does feel like there is a little bit of gaslighting going on in terms of the company promising things in trailers that then aren't there in the final product, like Pokemon interactions, or you can play your own way. Well, not really, because you do have to collect all 18 badges in order to progress the game, unfortunately. So yeah, I just to kind of wrap up this, because I do actually want to move on to the update. I guess watch this space more than anything, which is really infuriating that, you know, it's been out for a week now, and you'd think they'd have over a week. Yeah. Sorry, I lost track of weeks. Things. It's released this day. It's been out 2 weeks, and there has been any mention of, we've heard your issues with the game and the bugs that we can fix, and bear with us, we're going to do it. Now, I've been on top of Pokemon for long enough to know that if Game Freak isn't talking about something, they're not doing it. Okay? Like, the Dexit thing that happened, they didn't want to address that. They didn't want to talk about it because the decision was already made. And the fact that they're not talking about bugs and issues, I honestly think frame rate issues, they're with this for the life of this game, unfortunately.
And it's one of the things that actually got me thinking really recently. I'm not a game designer. I don't pretend to be.
Yeah,
I don't know what goes into making these games. I don't know how much of this is actually fixable.
Yeah.
Especially now that the games are out and things like that. What worries me is it might just not be able to be fixed.
Yeah.
Again, you said there was something about the game all loading in the background and stuff like that. That was a rumor. If that's the case and that's the way the game is built, can that be changed? We don't know.
And just to kind of add to that, again, this is something I've done a little bit digging on, but I can't find proof from Game Freak or Nintendo. Apparently, the Pokemon games are built on their own custom code, so it's not like they're using the most well-known game development engine is Unreal Engine, and there's a load of companies that use that to build their games. And the front-end games that you see, you wouldn't know they're built on the same engine, but they are. Game Freak apparently uses their own engine, which is great in some ways because then you aren't limited by whatever company owns that engine. They could turn around and go, right, we're increasing the cost, we're removing these features. You're flat out not allowed to use this one anymore. So you're not hampered by another company. However, what that means is if you've got your own game engine that you've developed and built yourself, you can't get outside help, really, because you can't then go to another company that owns their own game engine and go, listen, we're going to pay you to come in and take a look at this, because they'll come in.
Yeah, how do I optimize this?
Yeah.
I can't YouTube this.
Yeah, and
I can't look up a tutorial for this anymore.
Exactly, and they'll come in and go, yeah, we don't know why you built it this way. We don't know how the individual segments of the engine work together. So they're kind of hampered in that way. And I can't help but feel that the frame rate issue is a knock-on effect of other things. And my understanding of bugs is typically you fix one thing and it leads to more bugs, unfortunately, because code has a knock-on effect on other code in the build of the game. So the frame rate issues is just one example.
It's interesting. Right, just to jump in on that.
Yeah.
So depending on what we're referring to as the frame rate issues, so you've got the fact that when characters and Pokemon are slightly further away from you, they go all jittery.
They go all robot-like.
Right?
Yeah.
That's designed as a level of optimization.
Yes. Agree. Yes, it is. It is, yeah.
And then you've got the other frame rate, which is where you walk into a city and it chugs.
Yes.
Now, how do you can't combat both of those without overhauling the whole thing, because one is already their optimized version of it, and the other one needs further optimization. So I don't know what you can fix without, as you say, introducing more problems here.
Yeah, because all games have some level of optimization. They hide things. Typically, if an asset is really far in the distance, it will pull from the source a lower quality image or render or whatever it might be, because it's that far away. It doesn't need to be a high graphic intensity asset. And then as you get closer, it will swap it out for, okay, now we need a high quality one because you're up in its face and we need to show all the detail. Unfortunately, the way that Game Freak has almost built this game is that, even unless you are on top of the person, they will have that robot animation. I'm talking about 5-10 feet away. I've had it where, you're cycling through an area, and up until the point you are literally on top of them, they are still doing the robots, unfortunately. And
yeah, which is strange, because usually it's reduced detail.
Yes.
It's you're removing a lot of the textures, you're reducing the polygon count, not reducing the frame rate of the animation.
It's bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. And I know frame rate has been an issue in Legends Arceus and Sword and Shield. Seeing them in the distance, I was forgiving on that because they're far away. And I know when you get close to them, that issue will be fixed.
I mean, it was really bad with flying Pokemon.
Yes,
but I feel like I could see those Pokemon from further away, though.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, you could. Whereas in this, you can't see them from as far. In the distance, they're just not there. And as you get closer, in this, the frame rate and is still an issue. Whereas in Legends Arceus, it wasn't you got closer. It was okay, right. the better quality model is in. It's functioning. It looks good. Like I'm thinking about the Gyarados that's flying in the air in one of the areas where from a distance, okay, yeah, I can see it's a Gyarados. It doesn't look great, and then you're up close. Okay, this looks really good. Whereas in this, it's like, okay, I'm up really close. It still doesn't look good. Like what is going on? What is happening? I don't, and I think it ultimately comes down to they've built this system and probably don't know how to resolve the issue.
Yeah,
ultimately,
and let's not forget as well. There's the two teams at Game Freak at the moment.
Yes,
over the last 3-4 years, half of them worked on Legends Arceus and half of them worked on Scarlet and Violet, and none of them talked to each other, at least
apparently, yeah.
From all the information I've had. They didn't talk to each other. They didn't collaborate on anything, except from the fact that, models and stuff can be shared more easily now. And that's the thing. Over the last 3 years, they've created 2 open world games, something they've never done before, overhauled the entire system they use to build these games and share the information across the company. And it's just like, how much... So Legends Arceus is finished. What is that team now working on? They did the Daybreak update.
Yeah.
And then have done what? Are they off doing the next Legends game? Are they working on a Let's Go game? Are they working on the next spin-off? Don't know. How much of the Scarlet and Violet team is already on pre-production for Gen 10 now?
Yeah.
Or how much are they actually going to be pulled off of that to fix what the hell is going on with this game?
Yeah.
How much is the fact that this game has come out buggy and a mess? Sorry to call it that, but it kind of is. It's not in a good enough state really to where it should be and doesn't require fixing. How much are people focusing on that rather than the next game creating like a knock-on effect?
Yeah. So I just need to, like, for anyone that doesn't really follow game studios, like, having multiple teams isn't... It's a dumb
not
thing.
uncommon.
No, it's not uncommon. So the most well-known developer that does it is whoever releases... Is it Activision or whoever that releases Call of Duty? They had at one point 3 different teams, and Team 1 would be working on one game, Team 2, second game, Team 3, third game. The difference...
I think Call of Duty, very specifically, they had one on Black Ops and one on...
Modern Warfare?
Standard Modern Warfare.
But the difference with them was that you still got your full game development cycle, because even though they're released every year, you've got 2 years to work on it, because you'll release a game on year 1 and year 3. Whereas Pokemon kind of seems like, okay, they've got 2 teams, but they're still working a really tight deadline, which...
Both teams are still working to 3 years.
Yes. Unfortunately, and they're not getting the amount of time they need to push this out, to get the quality that they need. And I don't know if that's a case of they don't have enough time, they don't have enough resources, the engine they've got isn't up to snuff. The team don't have enough knowledge of that, the game engine that they use. I don't know how much of this comes down to peer pressure, where Game Freak is going, for all we know, Game Freak is screaming, give us an extra year, and you've got, the other companies above them going, nah, you've got a month left to release this. Get it over the line, buggy or not, because from that, we need to be able to release all the other different things that come out, all the merchandise, which makes up the majority of the profit that the Pokemon company makes. And what you got to remember is that, the money that is made from other merchandise, plushies, TCG, whatever it might be, I don't think Game Freak sees a penny of that, do they?
I'm not going to speculate on that. But, if I'm honest with you, I'm not going to speculate on that.
No, but like
that technically that is technically headed up by the Pokemon Company International, which Game Freak have a stake in.
Yes, that's it. But like, the reason I bring that up is because surely if they got more money, we would see it going somewhere. Do you not think?
So, interestingly enough, right, so again, I've had to research this to death because I released a video saying that this game was going to be great and was going to be based off Legends Arceus, and it's been in production for 6 years, and I was just wrong. Yeah. Straight up. So, I've had to research this to death, and from what I can gather, Game Freak, we all know Game Freak is a stupidly small studio.
Yes.
Like
200,
not
300,
even, if that.
Yeah.
Now, to put it in perspective, you're talking about Activision having 2 teams.
Yeah.
One of those teams is bigger than all of Game Freak. Okay. Now, that being said, since Sword and Shield onwards, they have been outsourcing a lot more. I think over like 1,000 people worked on Sword and Shield technically.
Right.
Because of how many people it was outsourced to. Now that's including all the model designers, which again have been getting better and better.
Yes, definitely.
The textures and stuff on the Pokemon are some of the best that we've seen, and we praise that to death.
Yeah.
There are rumors of Monolith getting involved, who were the guys who did Breath of the Wild, and they also did like Xenoblade Chronicles. I can't find confirmation of that anywhere, and I think if they were involved, the games would look better than they do.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going wrong here. We can't sit here and pretend something's not gone wrong.
Yes. Yeah, well that's the thing, because unfortunately, like I would love not to, for our conversations to be going down the line of this game knocked it out of the park. There's a handful of little tweaks. Really excited to see where they go with the DLC. However, because of the underlying issues that people are aware of, it's not like these are the odd things that are affecting, 1 in 100 players or whatever. These are things that are affecting everyone on day one release of a major franchise, and it's a case of they must be aware of it. But I think they're aware of it, but I don't think they're going to do anything about it, because we need to move on to the update that's coming.
It has actually been patched. Let's give us the rundown of what has actually been patched.
Okay.
We don't have patch notes yet,
no,
unfortunately.
we don't. But we have. So there was a tweet released by the Japanese Pokemon Twitter account. So I'm just getting. So I take this with a pinch of salt, because I don't speak Japanese. This is what I've had come back from somebody else. So we will continue to take your feedback seriously and continue to make improvements. Currently, we are continuing to investigate and discuss countermeasures for issues that affect the progress of the game that have been identified. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. In addition, we share the recognition of the various other points and opinions we have received with all relevant parties. We take your feedback very seriously and will continue to make improvements. And there are 3 key things that are apparently being updated in this patch. So the first one is Season 1 of the ranked battles will kick off, allowing you to enjoy ranked battles through the battle stadium. Okay, no surprise there. Makes sense. Second one, an issue has been fixed that caused the music to not play correctly during the battles with the Elite Four and the top champion in the Victory Road path. Yeah, is an issue. Bug, tick, done, dusted. Probably not the most pressing, but fine. They've done something. And then the third and final one, other select bug fixes have been made. And because we haven't got the patch notes, we don't know what those bug fixes are. Because the second point I read out, that's a bug, right? Like the music not playing correctly. That is a bug. Why is that separate? Which makes me think.
So I heard a really good rundown as to why they've phrased it that way. Mm-hmm. And it'll be because what they're fixing is the duplication.
Yes, I've heard about this.
At the moment, you can duplicate shinies, you can duplicate item, you can duplicate Pokemon, you can duplicate your ride Pokemon, and all sorts. And with competitive coming out now, they need to fix that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or it's such a weird one. So I was thinking about this the other day. Do you remember when Red and Blue, one of the best things about that game was missing no?
Oh, yes.
Was a glitch.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because some glitches are good.
Yeah.
Some glitches are great. Like being able to get 1 million Master Balls because you knew how to do the missing no glitch. It's not a bad thing. That doesn't take away from my experience of the game. Mm-hmm. But what I feel has happened is they've gone, well, that's not how we want people to play this, so we're going to fix that and not necessarily fix the issues with the game. Just the bits that we don't want you to have access to.
So ultimately, that almost feels like they've had to force that one through because it impacts on rank battles, and it's going to annoy the competitive people if, okay, well, I was battling against them, and that's obviously a duplicated Pokemon that's been shared around or whatever it might be, or, they've been able to make their game easier. And for the most part, duplicating items and Pokemon or whatever, like, the majority of people aren't even playing competitive. They're just playing this game for fun. I'm not going to play competitive unless they turn around and do what they did with Sword and Shield, where you can get legendary shiny Pokemon if you compete. That's the only time I'm ever going to compete in this. But I can understand having to fix the issues that could affect ranked before they can roll out ranked. I get that, which makes me think, like, are the only bug fixes we're going to get in the ones that affect the online element of this game?
Well, I will add the extension to this update is that this update must be applied in order to use the game's internet features.
Makes sense.
So if you want to do 7-star raids, you have to do it. If you want to do online battles and stuff, you have to do it. Nintendo Online membership is required to use the online features. That makes sense. Save data will still be available. You should freaking hope so.
Yeah.
All players must be using the same version of the software to play together. Please make sure you have the same update version as the person you are playing with. So what that suggests to me is that they're going, well, look, some people will stay on this older version in order to keep the duplication going.
Yeah,
Once somebody updates and realize you can't duplicate stuff anymore, they won't update. Well, let's just make sure that they can't trade any of those duplicated Pokemon until they do the update.
Which I'm fine with that. Like, I am fine with that. I have had hacked Pokemon sent across to me. Like, you get I remember getting a shiny Venusaur. My first thought was, oh my god, this is amazing. And then, why would someone send over a shiny V? And the more I looked into it, the more I thought, this doesn't seem legitimate. And someone that wants to complete a shiny dex one day, it's a little bit infuriating. So I understand them wanting to go, right, let's lock down online features. And it's been done in other games before. This isn't just Game Freak's stance. This seems to be gaming companies' stances that, before you can... But for a good multiplayer experience, you need to lock down bugs, hacks, patches, whatever term you want to use to make sure that people aren't glitching the system. So I'm fine with that. My main issue with this tweet, and of course it is a Japanese tweet, so the language might not be correct, but it doesn't seem very persuasive that they care. I guess. So one of the things is like investigate and discuss countermeasures for issues that affect the progress of the game. Like for me, some of the graphical limitations, they technically don't change your progress of the game, do they? Like, you can still play the game from start to finish. In addition, we share the recognition of the various other points and opinions we've received from all relevant parties. So relevant parties means, I'd imagine, isn't just us, the consumer. It's probably other companies as well that that may be getting involved in this.
Not sure. It'll be coming from like games journalists and stuff like that. Let's not forget, Game Freak do listen to their audience. We've said it many times. They do listen, and there is, as much as the conglomerate that is Game Freak and Nintendo do not care about you. They just want your money because capitalism. Yeah, sure, great. But there are people behind it as well.
There are, yes.
People who put a lot of time into making a game.
Definitely.
Most of them at this point grew up with Pokemon, love this franchise, and want to do a good job, and they're aware of the state it's in.
Yeah. Agreed. Yep.
My faith is in the people at Game Freak now.
So,
not the company, but the people. And that's why I worry that, like, it might come down from on high of like, no, you can't spend any more time on this.
So that was going to be...
People have already bought it.
Yep.
Move on. We need to get on to the next project. Otherwise, the next one's going to be even worse.
That's my point exactly. In my professional life, I've done enough jobs where you're passionate about something you want to deliver on, and you go, right, I want to do this. It's going to take me this long. Can I do it? And it's always a case of, well, value for money. We have to work this out and actually strip that out, because ultimately they don't make a difference to the consumer, or they're already doing it. So you don't actually need to improve those areas. Therefore, you are left with a stripped down version of what you want to deliver. Now, you're absolutely right. There'll be people in that company that this is their dream job. They love it. They are passionate about Pokemon. They are passionate about games. I'm sure there are people going, I remember as a child I played Gen 1, so to be working on Gen 9 now is an absolute dream. But there will be managers and managers above managers all the way up to directors that are going, nah, it's about the profit line. It's about the how much profit we bring in, and you want to improve these features. Well, actually, we don't think they'll make any profit, and therefore we're not going to prioritize that. Or it's a case of this is our. I'm talking about like the staff going, putting their ideas, improvements forward, whatever it might be, and the company turning around and going, well, sorry, but we're already on to the next phase, which is, planning for DLC, planning for Generation 9, planning for, whatever the next non-mainline game is, whether or not it's Legends Arceus, Legends or Let's Go, whatever it might be. I'm completely on board. There are people that will really want to build and develop the best game they possibly can, but unfortunately, companies want to make profit, and that
they do. I will say, Game Freak, at least from what I'm seeing here, is still a private company, so they've not got shareholders,
which is good. Which is good. Yeah, I like that. But yeah, so I think I am hopeful. I am hopeful that they'll roll out tweaks, updates, whatever it might be, and ideally, I probably should have looked at how many updates Sword and Shield got over its lifetime, but unfortunately, I think a lot of them probably would have been ranked in raid dens rather than the core experience. But then Sword and Shield, it launched in a state where it didn't have a lot of the issues plaguing this game.
Well, let's just put it this way.
Yeah.
Legends Arceus still has frame rate issues.
And that was when? February?
Yeah.
So but they weren't as noticeable in that. But
they weren't. But
saying that, actually, there were issues with some of the textures on people's clothing that is basically the same as some of the issues we've got here, where when you're up close, you really notice them, and they weren't resolved or fixed. Not that they maybe make the argument, well, they don't actually impact on the game, therefore they didn't need to be fixed. But it's still something that looks garish when you're playing the game. And what wasn't ever addressed or fixed. It does feel like, to me, all the updates we get from here on in are either game breaking or they impact on the online service, and that is it.
We'll see. We will keep you updated as the weeks and months go on.
Yes,
because that's what we do now.
Apparently so. The next topic we've kind of already discussed, what needs fixing. Is there anything else that needs looking at, addressing? Anything that's urgent? I will point out the Let's Go mechanic. Since figuring it out at the last time of recording, it functions a lot better now that I know a bit more about how to use it. Still not perfect, in my opinion. Still get points where the Pokemon vanishes or doesn't target. It's a lot better than the experience I was having last week, but that still needs some sort of, I don't know, almost widening of the scope of where the Pokemon can go or see.
Yeah.
That.
I think that's the easiest fix for me.
Because there have been times where where my Pokemon just wanders past something else
and then stands next to it.
Yeah. And I'm like, what are you doing? Which is the worst part is when you do that on a Pokemon that almost wants to attack you and runs towards you because you're suddenly running away from a wild Pokemon, and your Pokemon that you sent out has just stood there looking around like, well, what am I doing now? What do you want me to do now? So that to me needs a look at.
For me, it's the Tera Raids.
Yeah,
they I don't think they work properly.
Well, no, you are right. So I was going to so one of the things that I mentioned last week is that they're sped up in terms of, it's not okay, turn 1, turn 2, okay, then the raid boss does a move. They've kind of stripped that out, and it's almost like 4 1v1s is the best way to describe it. But there are elements where all the effects are happening at the same time. But then I've also had it where they have Intimidate, and then it goes back to Pokemon 1 was lowered, had their attack lowered. Pokemon 2 had their attack lowered. Pokemon 3, and I can't figure it out because there's parts of the raids that are built in this almost 1v1 quick way to power through, and then there's parts of it where it's back to a 1v4. I don't understand the direction they took with this and how having played it more, they've got something that isn't what they promised, but isn't what Gen 8 was either. It's somewhere in the middle that, for parts, doesn't fundamentally work.
Yeah, I think my biggest worry is that these 7-star Tera Raids are going to come out, and people are either need to come up with some kind of ridiculous cheese to get through it, or it's just not possible.
It's
because the animations are too slow, and the shields go up, and there's just big pauses in the middle that cuts into your time, and it's just not possible. That's my biggest worry. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that's issues I have had with 5-star raids, let alone 7-star ones. So and that's the longevity of the game. That's what's supposed to keep me coming back and playing with my friends over and over and over again. I've done the story. I beat the story in the state the game is in. Yeah. It's fine. It's not good, but it's fine. It's playable.
Yeah.
It's annoying, but it's playable.
Well, that's yeah.
It's the Tera Raids. They might not be playable, honestly.
I think the higher the difficulty gets, the more
noticeable those issues are going to be.
Yes. So early game, when there aren't any shields, it's not an issue. It's really not. When you can overpower your opponents, you can overlook some of the issues. When you've got like a level 40 mon, you're taking on 2-star, 1-star raids, you can overlook the issues because you aren't getting frustrated by not understanding how much time is left. And them having to the opponents putting up shields and other little things that impact on the time or being able to attack. The more difficult these raids get, and the longer you are in those battles trying to beat the Pokemon, like through repetitive attempts, the more people are going to realize that, hold on, that's a bug that I didn't notice. That's an issue that I didn't notice. And then that is when people are going to get frustrated and start complaining when, I can just see, people complaining going, I knocked out that Charizard when there was time left. But for whatever reason, I didn't get it. And I've had that myself.
And then it did Fire Blast against 3 people, and I ran out of time, and it gained health back somehow.
I have personally had where you knock it out in time, but for whatever reason, there are lingering effects, animations, attacks, which then means that it does that thing where the equivalent of blowing you out the den, whatever it is in this game. So I've had that. And I thought it was, I said earlier about it's 4 1v1s, but even that isn't correct or true, because I've had it where they've attacked me before I've selected a move, and I didn't think that was possible.
Because it's still technically real time.
Yeah, so I'm confused as to how this functions, because there's elements that almost seem like it's real time, then there's elements that seem like it's turn based, and it doesn't seem like, I wish I could just go, okay, it's definitely turn based, but you need to be aware of these things, or it's definitely real time, but these are the limitations. But because there's been no real explanation of the mechanics behind it, like, it's up to us to kind of figure it out. But the problem with figuring it out is that it's ambiguous at certain times, and there's almost conflicting things happening that's making me go, well, is it turn-based or is it real time? And I don't think it's either. Well, I think it's both, but it's not implemented very well, unfortunately.
I've not played them a lot, so again, people might have worked this stuff out.
Mate, hopefully, yeah. I'd love to have a tutorial that just goes, okay, these are the things that you need to know about raid battles to prepare for them, and like how the timing system works on it for some degree, which is a shame, because like
Dynamax raids were so intuitive.
They
because
were.
It built off what was already there.
So like for me, all they needed to do for Dynamax raids was speed it up. So it was a case of, yes, it is four Pokemon versus a wild Pokemon, but if they area of effect moves or multiple attacks or abilities that affect multiple times or opponents, you just need to speed them up. So if Intimidate kicks in, well, instead of it going, okay, Pokemon A lowered, Pokemon B, it was a case of all the Pokemon
show them all at the same time, show the animation, and read it out all at once.
That's all they needed to do. They just needed to speed it up. And which is what I thought we were getting from the trailers. But it's not. I don't get why they've tried to reinvent the wheel. Because the Dynamax, like, I remember the first time playing Sword and Shield and going into Dynamax Raid, and yes, I was overwhelmed, but then when you learn it, you're thinking, wow, this is like a 4v1? Love that. This doesn't feel like a 4v1. It feels like 4 individual battles contribute. It feels more like Pokemon Go than it does Sword and Shield raids.
It's strange because Dynamax raids were never that fun to me. They were fine, but like they were a little bit I can take it or leave it. It was the Dynamax Adventure that I think was the most fun. And I think that really sold the Crown Tundra as really worth doing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I'm surprised that they decided, no, let's just go and try something brand new instead of taking lessons from that. I'm fed up of being negative, Ben. I don't want to be negative anymore.
Okay. Well, I tell you what then. I have a comment from somebody that I was going to jump to, but
no, go on.
Okay, so the I've got to scroll down my Word document now. Right. Okay. So question from Tony. What's your favorite moment playing this game? What makes you go, wow, I really enjoyed this?
Okay, interesting. How do I say this without spoiling anything? When you're finally allowed to do the end of the game. Right. So once you've done all 3 paths, you are allowed to do something, and that whole experience is awesome. The whole end game is awesome.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm not there yet, so I'm looking forward to finally...
It's beautiful. It's so story-driven. There's lots thrown at you. The characters interact fantastically with one another. Great.
Okay.
Love every moment of it.
Okay, good. I had something, but I can't remember what I said. Can you remember what I said? I said it before we started recording. Was it the final time?
Yeah, it was Mass Bostiff.
Yes.
You mentioned about my Bostiff.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that so there were a couple of things. So the Titans and progressing that story, and not to give spoilers, but Arvin at first you think, do I trust this person? Because at the very first time you meet him in the game, he's quite antagonistic, isn't he? Compared to what we've seen in the trailer. So I was like, okay, bit of a curveball. And then the first time battle you beat, the camera lingers on Arvin. He says you can come out now to some mysterious Pokemon. So I was thinking, oh my, he's one of the bad guys. He's working with the bad guy team. Only for the second time battle to reveal that, like, the reasons he's doing these time battles isn't what you might think. And there's a very heartwarming element to that where you go from the first 2 time battles thinking, okay, I'm doing these because I need to do them, but I'm not sure this is like the best thing for the world or the region. Only for then the final 3 time battles to go, I really want to complete these because I really am invested in Arvin and why he's doing them. So really enjoyed that. And I think I swear there was the other thing, the final Titan battle that I mentioned. Well,
that's quite cool.
Yeah,
where you get the double Titan.
Yes,
as it were.
Yeah. So the final Titan, like I don't think this is a spoiler, but the first 4 Titans are 2 battles. Like 1 battle, then you go into the second battle where they're boosted. The third battle, I expected that, and that's not what I got. But I was pleasantly surprised by the shock almost of, oh, so the big scary Pokemon wasn't the one that we should have been worried about from the start. It's a little scrawny looking thing, which looks adorable, only for me to lose the battle and go, oh, okay, this isn't as easy as I expected. So I really, really enjoyed that. And you know what? Actually, thinking about it, one more. When you start this game and you come out of your house, it is beautiful. The quality of that area is better than the quality of surrounding areas in terms of just how the rocks look, the trees look. It looks like it looks alive. It looks like a real region. You can look out into the sea, the beach, the houses, the pathways, the grass. Like when they go, oh, you can choose your starter Pokemon, but you don't choose your starter Pokemon. They wander around with you for a little bit and you can interact with them. Like, that was amazing. Like, that was the best choose your starter moments, and out of your house, this is the world moment that we have had in a Pokemon game. It's absolutely amazing. It's just a shame that when you get onto the next path, the quality isn't as good. It isn't as vibrant. It isn't as fleshed out, unfortunately. But there are... I don't want people thinking we're being negative. We are criticizing the areas that need improving because we love this franchise and we want to really love this game. I like this game. I want to love it. But there are really good things in this game to enjoy. And I know that for some people...
running around in the world is just fun.
Yeah, it is. Like, you're just running and exploring, going, I've not been over there yet. Oh, there's items over there. And ultimately, you go and get the items, which then leads on to, I haven't been down there. What's that? What are the shiny sticks sticking out of the ground? Like, what are they all about? And finding and discovering the Pokemon. As I said, this is a good game. Could have been great.
It just should have been amazing.
Yes.
It should have been groundbreaking. It should have been so much.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. This
and I wouldn't complain so much if I didn't think it could have been.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the infuriating thing. Unfortunately,
I'm not angry, just disappointed.
Disappointed. Oh, that's even worse. No, brilliant. Shall we move on to Journeys and move away from Scarlet and Violet for a bit?
Yes. I'll tell you what, though, I don't think I watched this week's third episode. Although I've watched like half of it and fell asleep.
Okay.
Nothing really happens from what I can gather, though. It's a straight up filler one.
Okay,
right?
so is it Errand Endurance where Grookey and Eevee run out?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I think we just discussed this episode because even though you've watched half, you haven't really missed much.
Yeah, I did. I watched it and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not really following what's happening, but
okay,
fine.
Fair enough. So it's that time again where we continue watching Pokemon Master Journeys, and we've got 3 episodes to talk about this week. So episode 19, Sleuth for Truths. Detective Pikachu episode, kind of.
Yeah, roughly. It gets name dropped.
It does. Yes, it does. So it has been 2 weeks since I watched this because we didn't talk about the episodes last week. But the thing that stood out to me about this episode is the actual human detective isn't very good. And
no, and the thing is, he shows up, he's like, I am on the case, and then disappears for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, it's like not even him that figures it out, of course. It's Pikachu, but he tries to arrest Pikachu based on a hand drawing made by a witness. And I know this is part of the fun of the episode, but I'm there thinking every single generation has a Pokemon that is some way kind of like Pikachu. Like, it could be any number of suspects, and I only hope that you as a detective put more thought and legwork into your people, when you're detecting Pokemon. That's a really weird way to say that. When you are doing your normal detective job that doesn't involve Pokemon, that involves humans, I hope you do a better job. Could you imagine if he just goes out and goes, they've got black hair. The suspect I'm after has black hair. Case closed. Got him. Done. Dusted. Wrap this up. I was a bit like, okay.
It was the fact of like, I have evidence. You're the only Pikachu without an alibi.
Yes.
I'm like, what?
Like, what is this?
How did every other Pikachu have an alibi for 11 o'clock at night?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
I know. And apparently, because apparently Ash was asleep. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, he's a little boy. Of course he's going to be asleep. And like, I am just amazed that the detective goes down this route. But I will admit, one of the highlights to me is when they put the handcuffs on Pikachu and he just slides off.
He just falls out of him.
Slides off. I was like, oh, that's brilliant.
That's kind of cute.
It was. So obviously this leads to an interrogation, and Pikachu just is just indifferent to it all. I don't know if it fully understands or comprehends what is going on, or it is just shaken by, really, this is what we're doing right now. What I do like is that Officer Jenny makes a note about, she actually says, like, she knows Pikachu and Ash. And I'm like, which one are you? Like, which one? How do you know?
Assuming she's the one from Vermilion City, right?
Oh, good point. Yes. No, that's absolutely right. I don't know when the last time she met them was, but yeah, you're right there. So something is stealing the electricity. And
oh no, a thief about town? Who could that be? Could it possibly be the only villains in the freaking series?
Apparently so. Which, of course, it turns out that it is, right? It is Morpeko just doing its...
Yeah, it's Team Rocket.
It's Team Rocket.
It's not Morpeko. It's not Morpeko. Because Pokemon don't have the ability to steal electricity. That's not, like...
It's Meowth, isn't it? Stealing the electricity
they have a machine that's absorbing electricity that is being put out in these houses in an attempt to feed that to Morpeko so that it eats the electricity instead of its food.
That's it.
Until the Rotom-Dex turns around to him and is like, you're all idiots. That's not how this works. It eats food to produce electricity. It doesn't eat electricity. That's just dumb. You're dumb.
Yep.
And they do make a point of like, why didn't you tell us earlier? It's like, nobody asked me.
Nobody asked, I know, right? It's like, wait.
The sass of this Rotom-Dex is amazing.
I absolutely love Team Rocket's Rotom-Dex. It's absolutely fantastic. What I don't love is the fact that they actually animate, or they've drawn Team Rocket who haven't eaten in a while.
And it was uncomfortable, wasn't it?
It really was. I'm sat there going, oh, okay, they are actually starved because of this Pokemon. They can't get any food because the running gag is that whenever they try to eat their food, Morpeko just eats everything, unfortunately.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're immortal beings.
Yes.
I think at this point in time, they must be immortal beings, canonically.
Yes.
But starving to death, or starving to not death, as the case may be, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
No, it is really, really uncomfortable. One thing we get in this that I can't recall ever getting, but I'm sure we have, is we get a high-speed chase, which is quite fun. Quite enjoyed that.
With who do they high-speed chase?
The whole chase after Team Rocket, I think, from what I remember.
Okay. So the whole setup is basically to get Ash and Go playing police officer for a day.
Pretty much, yeah. They even have matching outfits, which is uncomfortable. I don't know why. I was looking at I don't like the outfits. Don't know why.
You don't like the outfit?
No. It's
is it a little bit too village people for you?
Yeah, mate.
Are we learning things about you?
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what.
Ben has some deep-seated issues that we must discuss after this because you can't go on. It's 2022, man. You need to get over that.
I love it. It's
it's just.
But it is basically an episode where they get to just play police, and Pikachu gets to be a bit of a detective. I think if they were going to do the whole Detective Pikachu thing, I would have preferred it if it was maybe a standalone Pikachu episode or something like that, rather than all the extra stuff that's going on. Yeah, I still enjoyed the episode, even through the hilarity that is the detective just being the worst detective ever.
I as much as I sort of made a joke about the fact that he shows up at the beginning and then leaves until the very end, I'm glad because the joke runs thin real quick.
It really, if it had been him, he keeps turning up throughout the episode, and like I've seen it done before where it's like Pikachu in other media, like if they applied it to here where Pikachu finds proof and it just so happens to disappear or vanish, and then he finds more proof and it's like, you're out of order or whatever it might be. I'm glad we didn't go down that route and we just kind of leave Ash and Go and Pikachu to just try and figure this out to wrap it up at the end.
Yeah, this episode was fine.
Yeah.
I think if anything, it reminds me a lot of that, the Plus Laminin episode that we had.
Yes.
It's just an excuse for Ash and Go to go around and help some people in the public.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
Yes. Cool. We get to see what Officer Jenny does on a daily basis.
Yes.
Or at least what she does when people are looking, because we know that girl is corrupt.
She is definitely in with Team Rocket, isn't she? and
100%.
probably other team flares and whatever they might be. Should we move on to the next episode, which I did enjoy a lot?
The good episode.
So episode 20, Advice to Go. Now this is proper nostalgia bait, because straight away we've got Professor Oak inviting us. Well, anyway, he's on the trail of Mew. Is that right? I'm trying to remember.
So I can't remember why he invites them back home.
No, I can't remember why he invites them back, actually. Is it because Infernape's disappeared? Or is that
That's
just
it. Infernape has gone wonders.
Yes, so Ash is Infernape from his journey through Diamond and Pearl? Is that right? That series?
Yes.
Yes. So Infernape's gone, run away, so Go also accompanies him as well, which... There's two stories going on here. There's one, what's happened to Infernape, where's it gone? And also Oak trying to persuade Go to join other members of Project Mew. So it involves completing several trials to become a member of Project Mew, with the whole premise of the team gets Mew, basically. They're trying to track down Mew. And so you've got these two elements competing with one another, and they are obviously linked, as they normally are in Pokemon. Go turns it down, though, because he's not a team player, which I found bizarre, because surely by being a Pokemon trainer, you are a team player, but also you've been working with Ash and Chloe for...
No, he hasn't. How many times have I brought up the fact that Go is the worst, because he's only focused on himself?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, he is very selfish, actually, when you think about it.
Selfish might not be.
There's probably a better word, but that's the easy word.
Self-absorbed is the only one I can think of.
Okay, yeah,
and that sounds even worse.
Okay, so probably the best way to put it is that when it's something he really cares about, that takes priority, and most of the time, what takes priority is whatever is on his mind
goal.
Or his goal. That's probably the best way.
It's his goal, and he's got blinders onto the rest of the world.
Yes, he will sometimes put that aside, but for the most part, that's one game. By the way, I'm dropping this in here because if I don't, I'm going to forget. I love Oak's reaction to Go having caught Suicune, like scrolling through the decks. And he's like, Suicune!
Suicune!
He's just like, what? And I just love how casual Go's like, yeah, I caught a Suicune. He's like, what?
And yet, he still can't catch a Pidgeotto.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It is really bizarre.
Which I love, because it was obviously Ash's first catch.
Yeah, it was. But it's not just that. He fails to catch an Onix as well, doesn't he?
He does. He fails to catch an Onix, which is great. I love seeing Go fail, because it happens so rarely.
Yeah, it is nice. So, another thing that I liked about this is we got to see Ash reunite with a lot of his Pokemon. Like, seeing I remember from the original series, I was like, okay, where's Muck? And of course, Muck does what Muck does and tries to like bring him in for a hug. Love that. And then when it shows all his Pokemon, I was thinking, he had like 30 Tauros. And of course, they turn up. I was like, yes, this is absolutely amazing. And we get a name drop of Tracy as well from Professor Oak.
But we don't have to see him, so it's great.
No. So I really enjoyed this little bit of nostalgia. And it didn't feel forced, because part of the story is Ash's Infernape is wandered off. And on the adventure to find the Infernape, who do we bump into?
Good old Gary!
We bump into... I've written Blue. I've written Blue and he's Blastoise, so that's wrong. It's Gary. It is Gary. What I do like is that, like, he seems...
Their rivalry is done.
Yes, he seems more grown up. He's less antagonistic. And I know that I have missed a lot of Pokemon episodes. Like, I've watched the first two series and then come back for this one. So I know there's probably development in there that has happened. But I am glad, actually, that I think I would have been a little bit more taken aback if Gary was the Gary that I remembered from the series. Because even though they're both still the same age, they've both developed, and I like the fact that is the case here.
So, from my memory, during the Johto League, Ash and Gary faced off against each other.
Oh, really?
And Ash won.
Okay.
And that was when Gary went, okay, I can't keep treating you the way I have anymore. You have proved yourself as a worthy rival. And I think that was the first time when he actually accepted, like, yeah, no, we are rivals.
Oh, wow.
But like we're gonna step into the friendly rival category now, rather than me just being an antagonist to you, which was the case all through Kanto.
Yes.
He then showed back up in Sinnoh and was more a researcher. He was doing a lot of research projects. More like, I think he was initially doing it for Professor Oak and then just kind of started doing his own stuff as well. He did take part in the league. I don't think he finished very high. Might be in top 16. But yeah, Gary is more of a research fellow now, which ironically is exactly what Ash and Go are doing at the moment.
Yeah, it's actually, I've never really thought about that, because while Ash's goal is to, beat Leon, like, he spends most of his time researching and discovering.
Yeah.
Rather than doing the usual battles and all that. So Gary's back because Gary is tracking down a Moltres. And he
really, really cool information about this as well. Like, you can follow its heat signature and how it changes the environment it's in, and then they follow it to a certain what is supposed to be like a dead volcano or a dormant volcano, because if it's injured, it will dive into the lava to heal itself. And when it arrives, spring erupts, and that's why all the flowers are there. Really, really nice lore brought in there.
Oh, I'm glad.
And I like the idea that Gary is looking at this. And what's great about this episode is Gary is smug.
He is
still.
Yes.
He's not towards Ash anymore.
No.
He's refocused on Go.
So,
and we kind of saw something similar when they went to Alola.
Yes, we did actually.
Kiawe was like, if you're going to be Ash's rival, I want you to prove that you can be Ash's rival. And Go turned around and went, look, I don't want to be Ash's rival. That's not how this is. Gary approaches it slightly differently. It's like, I don't care if you're his rival or not. You're his buddy.
Yeah.
And you need to earn that spot. And it's interesting the impact that Ash has on all his past companions to just be like, no, he is something special. And you need to live up to my standards to be his friend.
Yeah, it is really, really interesting to see how the people in Ash's life have this, like, those that have spent time with him, like the pedestal they put him on.
Yeah.
Rightly so as well, because like the amount of if his journey was just being a trainer, then maybe he wouldn't be on such a high pedestal, because he is a really good trainer, but he's not the best. But it's the fact that all these characters have been through these adventures and seen that he's just a good human being.
Yeah.
And, it's almost a case of, okay, yeah, well, if you want to be his friend or his rival or whatever, like, ultimately, we're making sure that you are also a good human being in whatever way they want to measure that. And
yeah, I think there's a level of it of, I want to see that he's getting as much out of you as you will inevitably get out of him. Because again, Gary is somebody who was changed so much because of Ash.
Yeah.
Like, him getting defeated in Johto was a complete turning point in his life. And he went, all right, I can't be this horrible person I've been and just assuming I'm the best, because I'm not. And I've been shown that. And, his life and his outlook on things changed massively from there on out. And he is a better person for it. So I always, I've got friends who have made me better people. And I'm like, all right, you want to hang around them? You better be either a good person already or open to what this person's going to teach you.
Yeah. And
not drag them down.
Yes. No, you're right there. You're right. Progressing the story then, the team put together the clues. Infernape is apparently tracking down the Moltres to battle it. It wants to battle the best of the best, apparently. And
I don't know if it's ever explained why. Why is it fighting the fire-type Pokemon?
I don't think it is. I just think it wants to be the best fire-type fighting Pokemon it can be, I guess. Like I
don't know. I just don't know if that was covered. Was it fighting the fire-types because it wanted to fight Moltres?
I don't know.
Or is it fighting Moltres because it's fighting fire-types?
I'm not 100% sure, to be quite honest with you. I just know that from what I inferred from that, from the episode, it wants to I'm not sure, actually.
It gets battered either way.
Either way, it does not go well. And I think part of it is because I've got the notes here. Ash starts the battle with Flamethrower. Okay, sure, whatever. But then Ash does have a good tactic. So for every bad tactic, he has a good tactic. He uses Dig, but then not Dig to attack.
Against the flying type.
Against the flying type. But the Dig isn't to attack. The Dig is to get close. And then he Mach punches as Infernape emerges. Which, Ash thinking outside the box a little bit. I've never seen that done before. It's the quality of the battle is good, but you can tell Infernape is outclassed. And even Gary joins the fray with Blastoise, which is great.
Yes. It's such a good fight once Blastoise gets involved.
It really is. It is absolutely amazing. And Moltres uses Burn Up, which I was like, okay, well, I know about this somewhere in the back of my mind. And the glow that comes off Moltres and the animation,
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like really well done. And then Gary explains Burn Up means it's no longer a fire type, and Ghost responses, "Is this even possible?" It's like, is that meta? Is that a meta way of saying, but it's a Firebird, it's still on fire? How is that possible? Or is it just Go being? I don't know.
Right. So from a writing perspective, from a storytelling perspective, I think this is to show that Go doesn't know everything. He's book smart, and we have seen that over and over and over again, but he doesn't know everything. And Gary is here to show him that, look, you ain't got it all yet, kid.
Yeah.
Yes, you've caught lots of Pokemon and you've done lots of research, but you don't know everything yet. And also, stop thinking that being a Pokemon trainer is a side to your eventual goal. It's not. It's all-encompassing. If you want to catch Mew, you better have a strong team.
Yeah.
You need to be a fighter.
Yeah.
As well as a researcher.
That's a good
point. The two are one and the same. Professor Oak was a champion. These two things are not separable.
Yeah, if your aim is to catch all the Pokemon, well, some of those Pokemon you can befriend. Some of those Pokemon you can just lob a Pokeball at. There will be a portion of those Pokemon you had better be able to battle and understand their strengths and weaknesses in order to take them on, in order to achieve that goal. And it's just the same as the flip side for Ash. Ash is, first and foremost, he wants to be a Pokemon trainer. But part of that means that you need to understand the Pokemon that not only are on your team, but the Pokemon you will be battling. You're right, they do go hand in hand. Gary's response to this, though, when Go asks if it's even possible, is the ecology of Pokemon is varied. Like, what? Like, that doesn't explain, like, that doesn't answer Go's question. You're just like, yeah, it's maybe possible, I guess. Like, things about Pokemon we don't understand, we don't acknowledge. Like, I'm just like, okay, so we just move on from that. Which
what did you want him to say?
Well,
wait till you can use skill swap and give it.
So I guess my point in this,
use skill swap and give it Wonder Guard and get rid of its fire typing.
So I guess my point is the fact that I don't really think the burn up it not being a fire type, it doesn't go anywhere. It's not a setup. It's not a Chekhov's gun. It's just like
a fact.
It's just a fact, and I'm like, okay, we know that the anime plays fast and loose with certain things that are different from the game, which is fine. They're a different media. I'm okay with that. But it's like, you didn't even need to bring up Burn Up means it's no longer a fire type move unless, like, I don't know, Blastoise uses Hydro Cannon and Gary's shocked. It's like, why didn't that knock it out? Oh, this is why. Like, it doesn't have a knock-on effect, which I don't get why they added that. Fine, whatever. Anyway, the battle continues, and Go now joins the fray with Cinderace. We've got Pikachu. We've got Electrovite. And again, just like the Zapdos battle that we had start of the season, last season, like, Moltres is often overlooked in the games as being probably one of the weaker members of that bird trio. But the anime does a great job of showing, like, even when you're using types that it's weak to, it is still a threat, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's great. Anyway, Moltres escapes. So again, like, they don't even beat it. It just escapes, leaves behind a feather, which is still burning, which I didn't realize was a thing, to be quite honest with you. But back at Oak's lab, Gary's revealed to be working with Project Mew. Gary still continues to be antagonistic to Go, but maybe that's what he needed as Go decides to join Project Mu as well.
Yeah, I think it again, this is an interesting point story-wise because Go has not been challenged really on his view.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of people have gone, wait, you want to catch every Pokemon and then Mew? And he's like, yeah, I do. What of it? Gary is the first person who's turned around and gone, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying you can't do it.
Yeah.
And he's finally, it's great that Go might have a rival of his own.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He kind of needs that for his arc to continue.
Yes.
For his character to continue growing, because him and Ash are companions. And they've made it very clear that those two are not antagonistic towards each other. They can learn from one another. But yeah, Go needs a rival. And maybe Gary can step into that role, as he did for Ash and made Ash grow into the trainer he is today.
Yeah, I like that idea because, as we've seen throughout this season and the previous season, that Go he's very trigger happy catching Pokemon. And I feel like in order for his character to progress, he needs to be less trigger happy. And because obviously as he catches more Pokemon, the scope of where he needs to go narrows. So you need some kind of story reason as to why now it's more difficult for him to catch these Pokemon or find these Pokemon. And part of that might be about, okay, he needs to develop as a person, his knowledge, his experience, whatever it might be. So the story that we see unfold on screen is interesting because there have been times where, Go's just out catching loads of Pokemon and it's typically for a bit of a laugh or it's a bit of a montage in an episode that's unrelated to Go. And if we are going to get more Go-centric episodes, which eventually leads to him finding Mew, whether or not he catches it is another thing altogether. But when he gets to that Mew, I want him to be at a stage where either he is unable to catch it and the next arc is him learning from it, or he's unable to catch it, but he acknowledges that he has done a lot of learning and development, which helped him to get there. And now it's time for the next stage of his development and growth. I don't want it to get to, if Go found Mew in the next couple of episodes, I'd feel a little bit disappointed because I wouldn't feel like it's been earned. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it would be good. So I guess where I'm going with that is, yes, it would be good to see Go have a rival. If it's Gary, even better, to just see him develop as even if he isn't a Pokemon researcher, someone that actually, he isn't just catching Pokemon, he's learning about Pokemon. It backs up what he said when he fought Mewtwo at the end of the last season, where, catching Pokemon is understanding them. Well, now we need to see that in practice.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's move on.
I'm excited to see where he goes.
Yes, me too. Episode 21, Errand Endurance. So this is the one that you only watched half of it on. I'll just quickly explain what happens. Basically, Chloe asks why Grookey always gets into mischief, and they disagree over this. Grookey and Eevee both almost get run over as well, which leads to them deciding, let's let the Pokemon do an errand to see if they can be trusted. And Chloe and co all follow along, but secretly, in order to make sure that the Pokemon are okay. On the other side of things, you've got Team Rocket's Pelipper, who also is sent on a mission to do the same thing, to do with more Pico, of course. And of course, this eventually leads them butting heads, coming along, and you know what it's like. They're on the separate paths, they join together, and then something kicks off. And along the way, it's a bit of hijinks about Ash making sure that Grookey and Eevee go in the right direction, using Gengar to manipulate the areas that they walk through. Great. And basically ends with, as you can probably expect, they end up completing their errand. It's not a amazing episode by any stretch of the imagination. There's only a handful of highlights, one of which is where at the end of the day, it's nighttime. They're a little bit worried about where the Pokemon have disappeared, only for Grookey to turn up at the end. Grookey's really struggling, legs are caving, breaking down. It's like, oh, okay. And the absolute the animation on Grookey's face where it is powering through at the very end. It's upset. It wants to just drop, but Go is encouraging it to continue on and just keep going. And then Grookey just like running into Go, crying, and the support that's there is absolutely fantastic. But overall, it's a bit of a episode. You didn't really miss
Again,
much.
I watched half of it and I was like, okay, this is fine, whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on just to set up the final moments of Go believes in Grookey, which could have been done any other number of ways, unfortunately. And to be fair, even the side story of Pelipper going out and being on its venture, that didn't need to be in here. I understand why they include it, because it's like, okay, it's showing that actually Team Rocket also care about this Pokemon, and they're also following along and helping them and all this.
Pelipper wants to go get ice cream or something, but isn't good at going to get ice cream.
Pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much it. They're trying to figure out how they can distract more Pico, to the point where actually Team Rocket and Ash and company don't actually come in direct contact in this episode. Grookey ends up in Pelipper's beak for a moment, but then falls out. So like, there's not even a direct conflict. One standout that I did like is the fact that there are just pays homage to the original Pokemon game, where Ash and Go are trying to follow, only to go down an alleyway where a Snorlax is blocking it, which I found nice. I quite like that. Which does, like, there's just wild, massive Snorlax roaming around the towns, but yeah, wasn't a great episode, and as I said, like, it's just that ending couple of minutes where you're like, okay, this is what the episode was trying to get to.
Okay, fair enough. I will watch it, but yeah, I'm not sad that I didn't get to review it.
Okay, I need some fighting episodes now. I need some Ash progressing up this ultra class level. Conor, are you up for playing a game?
Cool, I'm very tired, so I can't promise I'll be good at it. But yeah, let's go.
Perfect. In front of me are 3 Pokemon, 3 Pokedex entries each, but can't spot the fake entry. First up is Moltres. So, this legendary bird was once a common sight in the region. However, a decrease in its numbers is thought to be a result of low volcanic activity. Second Pokedex entry. A legendary bird Pokemon known as the Firebird. Every time it flaps, its wings flare and burn brightly. Final Pokedex entry. Legendary bird Pokemon. It is said to migrate from the south along with the spring.
Interesting. I'm torn between the second and the third one. If it's the first one, very well written. Like it a lot. The third one is one I think you've thrown in there because in the episode it says that it brings spring, not that it comes with spring. So I think that's a trap. So I'm going to go with the second one.
Okay, it was the first.
It was the first one.
The first
that
one.
was so well written.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was like, when I was writing, I was thinking, this is almost too good. I thought for a moment you're gonna go, nah, that's not it. The other two are so safe that it must be the first one. But glad I got away with that in the end.
No, that was really, really good.
Thank you very much. Right, over to Infernape for the first Pokedex entry. Martial artists are stunned by Infernape's fighting style. No human has ever beaten it in combat. Second Pokedex entry. Its crown of fire is indicative of its fiery nature. It is beaten by none in terms of quickness. Third and final Pokedex entry. A tall, hardy Pokemon with a dazzling appearance. It shrouds itself in flames and battles as if engaged in dance. Truly a sight to behold.
Well, that's like... Okay, that must be like an Omega Ruby one. I'm going to go with the first one.
How come?
Honestly, I barely heard it.
Wow.
I drifted a little bit and was like, wait, what's happening? Oh, no, wait, I'm doing a game. First one.
Okay, you're right. What? Okay, fair enough. I thought, I'm really disappointed by that one, that you got that one right. I thought you might.
It's 1 in 3, come on.
I thought you were going to come out from a, like, you know, when you get into the technical detail and you explain everything and your reasons why. I thought, okay, you might go into, oh, well, human Pokemon fighting, has that ever been a thing? But no, you just didn't hear it.
Yeah, no, I literally half fell asleep there and was like, the first one.
Wow. Okay, so the final one, Vanillite. Pokedex entry number 1. It exhales cold air that is minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit. When it's in a warm place, it shrinks little by little. second Pokedex entry. It feels pleasantly cool when embraced. This Pokemon is treasured by households in warm regions. And the third and final Pokedex entry. As a result of extreme temperatures in the region, the snow covering Vanillite's head has melted, leaving it bald.
Yep. Okay. So I know the third one is like a thing that because it's the snow is not their head; they're snow covered. Can't imagine them. I'm gonna go with the second one because I can't imagine them being in warm regions, let alone favored in warm regions.
Get that? It was actually the third one. So
was it?
You are right. The snow covering its head isn't its head,
but it doesn't refer to them as bald.
At no point in the Pokedex does it refer to them as bald. And it's...
Why did I not pick up on that? I need to go to
Right, we'll be back next week for more of those Pokedex entries. We haven't got any other comments and questions, but if you have got a comment or question, you can reach us by leaving a comment on our podcast on YouTube, by emailing goldenrodpod@gmail.com, or by leaving it on our Discord channel. Plugs. Obviously, you've mentioned the scripts that you're working on at the moment. Anything else?
That's all I want to announce this week.
Okay, very good. In terms of what I've got going on, because I should probably be out in 2 weeks' time, but I want to just touch on it now. I am doing a solo challenge run on Scarlet and Violets. It's the most difficult game I've ever played as a solo run. I've picked quite possibly the worst Pokemon in existence, and I'm looking forward to finally putting that out there, but I'm really tightening up the script. Otherwise, it's going to be an hour long, and that's a lot of editing.
Oof.
I don't want that. I want it to be about 20 minutes, maybe. But it's quite difficult because of the length of this game. There is 18 things to do rather than just your typical 8. But I am really, really enjoying it. I'm going to have to hit level 100 to complete this, though. And even then, I think I'm not going to be able to beat it. So it's going to be interesting. And that's the show for this week. If you've gotten this far, you're just a top dollar, aren't you? Conor, where can we find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at CapTheFidget or on Twitter at CapFidget.
I'm Ben. You can find me as Professor Hoenn Gaming on YouTube and Professor Hoenn on Twitter and Twitch. As for the Goldenrod Podcast, you can find us on the usual platforms. Search for Goldenrod Podcast on YouTube or on your usual podcast app. Leave a like on YouTube or a 5-star review if you're listening as a podcast. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon podcast content.
Bye.
Brilliant.